Hello and welcome to GM Talks. Today you're gonna learn something important, essential Rook endgames, a must-known technique. This technique will get you points in your games. I promise that. This is something you need to know. If you don't know this, Rook endgame can be very frustrating. If you know this, some of them becomes very simple and it just become easy because just do this and then he cannot do anything or she cannot do anything. So you're gonna learn an essential technique today you can apply in your games immediately. It's an essential Rook endgame, must know technique. So let's get into it. We have two games we're gonna see where this technique is used on the highest level. It's from the No Castle tournament, which is in Dortmund, which is kind of interesting. No castle, and is that a good idea? Because it turns out that the games were very, very entertaining, very interesting, and a lot of fighting. And I'm kind of a fan, so I think they should maybe experiment a little bit more with this no castling thing, because it will set back the theory of openings and so on a lot, and make people think again about the real things, what's going on in chess. Anyway, let's get into it immediately. We have Kramnik versus Colors from this, and Kramnik, I think he convinced the organizers to actually have this tournament. This is the English opening, but remember, these guys here, they cannot castle into safety. So they have to find another way. So you have to think from the beginning, which openings is it most unnecessary to castle. And apparently most of them thought that the English opening was such an opening. So and also the dragon variation with black was where it seems that white has more problems not castling than black have not castling. So this may be the return of the dragon. And all this looks very natural so far. And H4, and I noticed one thing with this no castle. Kramnik, he played using the pawn on the rear a lot. H pawn and A pawns were just flowing up the squares. So that might be his take on how to play this, and he's been the big advocate of this. So he just continues here, and Dimitri is not afraid of this. He just but the problem is we see that you can't castle. This is a problem. It would have been nice for black to just be able to do this, but it's not. And of course, white has the same problems. Where does this guy go? And black decides this is the way to solve it, and white is not solving anything yet. Black plays h6, preparing to play a5, but it does weaken the white squares. Knight h4, rook here, knight g6, coming in. Incoming. So far nothing really going on here, but this is already a problem for black. This here is exercising a lot of pressure here. You don't want to give up your bishop, and after this move, white has this nice little combi, and knight queen b3, and we notice that something will drop back. There's a double attack, and we also see that we have this. So black is basically already busted. But of course, this will still be an interesting game. We notice that white cannot castle, so the game is still a little bit interesting. And c6 is very interesting. We see that he cannot castle, so this will be sort of the last chance to do this. And of course, you're hoping that you will be able to give a check here. It's not allowed, and of course it's white to move here, so black is in trouble. The thing is, Kramnik is kind of a cool technical guy, so when he sees a technical win, he just goes for it. I think this someone might play f3 here, just take back with the d pawn and saying, okay, I got a very serious advantage. But I think Kramnik just thought, okay, this is fine. I'm clearly winning. I'm I'm attacking this pawn, I'm attacking this pawn, and I have a majority here. Anyway, this is not where the really interesting thing starts. F3, bishop takes, and of course black could play this, but he will be 2 pawns down in the rook ending, so that's not much fun. So he decides to go for that pawn instead, and so he won back a pawn. This is the interesting position. Now notice, you heard that rook endings are always a draw, right? Well, they're not, especially not with the passed pawn, especially not when you can do this. And here is, of course, if you take here, then king g7, something like this, and black will get this pawn, and it will be a draw probably. But that was of course not the idea. The idea was this move, covering the pawn, and after this move, we have an important moment where you can show that you understand rook endings. So what's the features of this position? Well, white is 1 clear pawn up. This guy here, very strong pawn, and black's pawn here are weak, but and black is hoping to create counterplay against these guys here, right? So and of course white is hoping to queen the pawn. Well, good technique is always something about preventing counterplay, and if in the rook ending you are able to put your rook in a position where it's both attacking and defending and sort of helping you advance your pawns, then you are in good shape. This is almost always a good idea. So there's one move that's clearly better than all the other moves here for white, and that is rook h4. So what's the point? The point is to put the rook here. What does it do here? It controls, so it covers this pawn. It is protected by this pawn, and it covers this square as well, where some counterplay might arise. So it just kills all counterplay for black immediately, and at the same time it helps this pawn advance, but at some point white will swing the rook here and go all in on the pawn, and we also see that it prevents the king from crossing to attack the pawns. So this is just multi-purpose. It's such a nice move, and after this black actually resigned. There is nothing to do here. This pawn will just advance, and black will not get any counterplay. So notice this situation here. Rook is covered. It does protect the only weak pawns, prevents black king from going forward, prevents pawn breaks, and so on. So very, very, very nice. Nothing to see here for black. That will just have to resign, and he did so. So that was one example. Now you did notice this one, right? So let's get into the other example. I'll try to get a new position here from library, and we have this game. Yes. Okay, and I hope this works well. It did. Okay, good. Let's get into it. This was the round before, round 5. By the way, Caruana won this tournament ahead of Kramnik, and Pavel Evyanov was last, and he had some problem adjusting. He's a very strong theoretician. Now we have the English opening again, this time a symmetrical where, and this e4 actually makes a lot of sense, because after this move, this is actually well known that that king e2 is sometimes smart in this position, and this is also what happens here. And this is known to be actually quite fine for white, even when you can castle. But this time you can't castle, so it must be better. And black still, of course, has the problem. This king is not going anywhere. But this is not the main theme of this. We have an interesting position, bishop takes, and black has some problems developing here. It would be nice to be able to castle, but of course he's hoping to exchange probably the queens and get his king to somewhere good at some point. So this is basically the point, to go knight c6, take with the king, and maybe go here. That could be a point. White has some interesting ideas. Again, we see this this pawn going up the board. This is something they also do when they can castle, but when they cannot castle, it seems to be even better. So that's something to notice about this, that when you can't castle, get those rear pawns moving. And Queen a4, white is ready for this, and is basically ready to launch an attack. It's not so easy for black to get out of this. So I think white is already clearly better. Queen d4 is probably a mistake. Queen b3 is annoying. There's this one, and after this move here, this one is really annoying for black, getting his structure completely messed up immediately. And Rook b3, nice little move here, attacking the pawn. Bishop c5, covering, ready to take. And of course there is X-ray effect, so when it takes back, you will get this pawn down here. Knight d4, Rook d3. You could go back, but you probably just take and go back with the rook. It's not possible to cover the pawn on b7. Remember, black still cannot castle. This looks natural, but it does lose a pawn. Take, and important, d3, covering the pawn here. This one is a goner. After something like this, you just go f4 and e5, and it will disappear. So black decides to try and get some counterplay. Does not work here, and still he cannot castle, so he has to find a way, and this is a check. So this makes sense to get the king to the other side. It's still not a rook ending yet, knight d4, but white is sensing that rook endings might be interesting for him. Check, so he's ready to go for a rook ending. Check again, and very, very unpleasant for black. I think one thing you should notice here is if it goes here, you will get into serious trouble, because white will go b5 here, and this one will be mate. So another thing, that's something I learned from Nun's book, Tactical Endings, is to be aware of tactical themes. It's also something Seyervan had a lot about in Inside Chess, which I read a lot when I was younger. It was a very nice magazine. It was a little bit sad it disappeared. I think New in Chess is a little bit, there's too much, simply too much text in New in Chess. Anyway, so he went here, check, and double attack, and he had to go, and white immediately go for the rook ending, and rook f3, rook b3. We had one square here that was interesting. We had one weakness, it's here. It covers the weakness. These two are not able to do anything, and this position is basically just winning. He was threatening to go here and win the pawn. h5. White has a nice majority on this side, and white can attack. And rook e7, and here black resigned. And again we see this idea is to go here, or just to go here. In a way, it blocks the king off, and white will always have this rook e3. So what could happen here? Well, you could have something like this, and then maybe this move. And if here, then we have this one where it's very nice defending here, defending here, and ready to swing in behind the pass pawn, push all the way. The king will go this way, and it will go up the board, and it will attack this pawn, or it will go in and help the pawn, and black is basically without counterplay. So notice this situation here, rook e7. Of course, everything you could also do the different things, but this is just a very good thing to remember. Keeping an active rook that defends the weak pawns and sort of get the kings off the board. The king is now not able to get to the king side where the game will be decided, and this pawn can be easily covered from the rear. Something like this, I think. You probably will just go something like this, and or maybe, I don't know, maybe this move is easy enough, and it's probably winning something like this. You can even do this, and basically you're ready to get the king into Pac-Man mode. If the king move forward, you will go and grab all black's pawn. They will all drop. So black will not be able to get any counterplay. So to recap, in the rook ending, when you can put your rook in a place where it does cover a weak pawn and it does sort of block the king from crossing, and it does be able to sort of aid the pass pawn or attack the weak pawns, then it's almost always a good idea. What you don't want in this position is to have sort of a slugfest where all the pawns disappears in some weird things and it's a draw. You want to keep control, keep your pass pawn safe. And by the way, even if this one drops, it's not a disaster. If you have a king here and you have a king on this, for instance, this square, you will win as well, because these guys are not going anywhere. So it will be a win anyway. So important concept in Rook endgame technique. This is an essential technique. When you master this, your Rook endings will improve a lot. I promise. This was DM Talks with another video, and if you have not already subscribed to the email, you should do so. We will come with some offers at some point for email subscribers and things you can only get there. And also there will be, of course, if you're a real paying subscriber, there will be special things for you later this month. This was DM Talks. Thank you.